Hello everyone and welcome back to Southern Melt. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, you guys know, please drop that like and subscribe. As you guys know, it's the only thing that I ask. Now, bonds and TLT seem to be on the rise. Yields are coming down. We've been here before. I would like to see TLT breaking the 90s and staying there for once and for all. As you guys know, the liquidity that everybody talks about, but very few actually talk about the concrete items in it. The three most important things are yields, that you want down, dollar, the Dixie, DXY, you want it down, and oil prices, you want it down as well. So far, for the past few days, we've been having all three of them happening. That's good. That's easing of financial conditions. That's good for risk assets to go up. Now, when I say for risk assets to go up, I know I have to say it. Does that mean go up every single day and every single week? No. Means overall upward trend in risk assets. That's what it means. The fact that liquidity is going up, currency debasement continues. That means every day there's more currency, euro, dollar, yen, you name it, than there was the day before, which means those extra dollars, euros, yens need to go somewhere. And where they land after any meaningful time frame is risk assets. Because who has access to those extra dollars? The top 20% of the economies. What do they of people in the particularly the developed world? What do they do with it? They buy assets. Let's say if I give you $1 billion tomorrow, are you gonna start having 20 dinners and 7 lunches per day? No. So you don't have your CPI inflation. But you take, okay, I have $1 billion. What can I do with this? I'm going to buy assets. I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. I'm going to buy some real estate. I'm going to buy some stocks. You know the drill. Although real estate is different because it's also driven by leverage and yields and mortgage rates, which are impacted by the yields. So that's a little bit different story. But you buy stocks. We know the drill. We've covered this here in the channel quite often. And what are we seeing? Once again, the Nasdaq and the NASDAQ100 just hit new all-time highs yesterday and today. The S&P 500 is super close to hit a new all-time high. Even Bitcoin, that everybody feels so bearish about, it's like 3 or 4% away from a new all-time high. I think if we keep on going with this level of pessimism, I think we're gonna hit new all-time highs feeling bearish, which is great. What you are on the looking for, what you are on the lookout, what you're checking, assessing in the market is euphoria levels. So when everybody's going crazy and people come to you, basically, when Bitcoin consensus prices is $1 million, that means you're probably closer to the end than to the beginning. If people are guessing and half the people think that the top is in and we're gonna collapse and all of this kind of stuff, then usually the top is not in. Now I want to address something because I'm already starting to see this by the likes of Peter Schiff, and it is very important for people to understand. He's already saying that because the dollar is going down, inflation is going to skyrocket and it's going to make the whole exercise much harder. Right? Basically, the trade ambitions, inflation is going to go through the roof. It's going to be terrible. So here we go again. So this is the narrative. The narrative is if the dollar goes down versus other currencies because the US imports a lot, the import cost becomes much more expensive. So basically, inflation goes up. That's the story, the narrative. Sounds like a good narrative, right? So the question you should ask, because we've been talking about this, so you guys know how to think now. How should we think about this? Very simple. Go back in time and see what happened to inflation when the dollar was lower. And see if this story resembles reality, or if it's like Peter Schiff's most things he talks about are just stories. So between 2010 and 2020, the average Dixie was 88. It's currently 97 point something, but it used to be 88 on average between 2010 and 2020. Okay, what was the inflation during that time period? 1.9% per year on average. Oh, that's strange, because Peter Schiff just told me it's going to go through the moon. But it didn't. Okay, maybe there were some years with a very strong dollar, and that kind of tilted the averages. So maybe the average is not a good thing. Oh, there were many years during that time period where the dollar was high 70s, so 78, 79, and low 80s, 81, 82. So what happened throughout those years? Oh, inflation was 1.5 and 1.6%, so even lower than the average. So many times when the dollar was higher, inflation was actually higher. Does that mean that a lot of other factors can move that? Can move inflation and not just the dollar? The answer is yes. And the answer is no. There's no evidence that the lower dollar means higher inflation. So this is the case where Peter Schiff's stories and theories have a little bit of a problem. It's called reality and history. They don't match up. That's the problem. And it's important because this is the type of story that sounds... So what Peter Schiff's going to always tell is very simple. The way he talks is very simple. Is something will create massive inflation, and you have to buy gold. And by the way, buy Schiff gold. And if you want some extra humph in your portfolio, buy Euro-Pacific, which is his company, funds. But by the way, don't look at the returns of those funds, because they're absolutely disgustingly bad throughout more than a decade, by the way. But don't look at it. Don't look at the returns. I never talk about the returns. Neither the price of gold adjusted for inflation, because then, well, then maybe you're going to buy something else. So that part I'm going to keep it from you, okay? But just remember this. Something is going to happen. And I know that historically, the opposite has happened. Not just... For example, he's been saying, oh, if the Fed cuts rates, we have more inflation. Really? What is the country in Europe with the lowest inflation? Switzerland. Who is the country in Europe with the lowest interest rates? At 0% at the moment. Switzerland. Which country had the lowest inflation throughout these past few years? Switzerland. Which country had the lowest interest rate throughout this period? Switzerland. Oh, but Peter Schiff told me something different. Yes, but he never talks about evidence. It's always about predictions, and then they don't happen, and he just jumps to the next prediction. So he will make 25 predictions until one of them is correct, and then he will talk extensively about that one. And then he goes on the podcasts, and people know that Peter Schiff come in, a lot of views come, so they play a clip of him making that single prediction correct, and they say, congratulations, Peter, you were so correct. I know that, by the way, I know that you predicted 24 things that not only didn't happen, but the opposite of them happened. But those, let's not talk about it, because I don't want to upset you, because I want you to keep coming back so more people view my channel. So I'm just going to highlight this single prediction in the middle of 100 that you made that was correct. And then I'll try to pretend that you are some sort of a visionary to the world. This is how it works. It's not just him, by the way, but he is one of the main ones on this. So this is the next narrative, the next fear to be embedded into you. I've told you before, in my view, as long as governments and central banks, or a combination of the two, devalue the currency, we will make new all-time highs in risk assets. And no, it's not a bubble. It's just your currency is worth less. That's it. So basically what I've told you, in my view, the Fed and the governments have taken the risk out of the stock market in general. I'm not saying one individual stock, I'm talking about in general for indices, for example. Now, does that mean that we cannot have 1 year of bear market? Does that mean we cannot go down 15%, 20% here and there? Sure. And as I've said, during April, it's all short-term noise. That's all it is, nothing else. It's your currency is losing value. For example, Argentina stock market, Zimbabwe stock market, Venezuela stock market has much better performances than the S&P 500. What is the problem of those stock markets? Is when you convert the stocks into the local currency, your local currency buys nothing. It's garbage, it's paper, it's fugazi. You see, you have the asset price on top and you have the currency on the bottom. This is basic mathematics, right? You divide one by the other. What happens if the thing you're dividing by keeps losing value and value and value? The thing on top, which is the stock, the crypto, the commodity, keeps going up because it's so it's like, let's say you're dividing 10 by 2, that equals 5. But now let's say you're dividing 10 by 1, it's 10. Now the numerator, the 10, is the same, but the thing you're dividing by, you're going from 2 to 1, so the overall division goes up. Not because the thing on top went up massively, it's just the thing on the bottom, which in this case the currency, is getting devalued. That's all it's happening. I know it's very simple, it's boring, I'm not making a connection between this and being born in 1965 as a predictor of success. I know that I'm not mapping this analysis with the shape of lizards in trees in southern Australia. I know it's not exciting. I know that I'm not, matching this to the how many times the wolves sing to the moon in the spring to make a correlation between that and the price of lumber, but it's much simpler than people believe. Now, when it comes to, so we hit new all-time highs, and there's a lot of conversations that the US and Iran may actually develop some sort of economic agreement. I think that would be good. I think the easiest way, look, there were countries in the region, they used to have many problems. Think about the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. Nowadays, they are some of the best places you can live. I mean, Saudi Arabia, maybe not yet, but I mean, if you live in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or even Doha in Qatar, you have extreme high quality of life. So if we move past this hatred of people, that region has everything to succeed. They have infinite resources, much better weather, very well located geographically, has everything to succeed. So I hope that by interconnecting economies, that becomes a natural deterrent for conflict. That's my hope. Maybe it's a wishful thinking. Maybe it's me being naive. I just think when the interests are aligned, it's more than unite us than the things that make us, that tear us apart. That's kind of the mentality that I have. Let's see, let's hope, let's have a look at it. Now with crypto, you see a lot of the big players are accumulating a lot of it. Bitcoin and Ethereum in particular. Now people are saying, well, why can I see it? Why can't I see it in the price? The majority of volume of both Bitcoin and Ethereum happen in the perpetuals market, in the derivatives market. The price will remain suppressed until the big boys figure out that I have enough. And then all of a sudden, goes like this. Just like a few weeks, people already forgot. Bitcoin was at 75K, 77K, 78K. All of a sudden, you blinked and it's now 108K. Ethereum was 1,400. You blink, it's 2,800. Now, granted, we had some pullbacks, that's all true. There's a huge CME gap for Ethereum at 3,200, and there is still massive amounts of short positions, record net short positions for Ethereum at around $3,000. So what you need to understand, can I guarantee that any of these things are going to succeed? Of course, I cannot guarantee. Nobody can guarantee anything. The only people that can guarantee things to you are people that are scamming you. Then they will guarantee whatever you want to hear to make you buy whatever they're selling. But of course, I cannot guarantee any of this. But my feeling is, or the thing that you need to understand is this. When you fade Bitcoin and Ethereum, but particularly Ethereum, you are fading, meaning when you don't believe in something, when you don't believe in Ethereum, this is what you're doing. You're saying, I think BlackRock, Fidelity, and the US president will all of them lose money on Ethereum. That's your belief. Now, BlackRock has $12 trillion in assets under management. Just for you to have an idea, you have the US GDP, you have the Chinese GDP, you have BlackRock, 3 times the assets of the number 4 largest GDP on the planet. That's who you're fading. And you're fading Trump and his family, the US president, at the same time. And you're fading now the big Wall Street banks who have noticed that tokenization of assets and securities will allow them to collect more fees and to keep the yields for them with stablecoins, for example. And the most battle-tested, biggest total value locked chain, it's still Ethereum. So this is what you're fading. Okay? And maybe you're right. Maybe BlackRock will be wrong. Maybe the US president will be wrong. And you will be right. Oh, sorry. Maybe they will be wrong. And you and the crowd, because the crowd consensus is Ethereum is garbage and finished. This is the consensus of the crowd. So what you're saying is this. The US president will lose. BlackRock will lose. And me and the vast majority of people will all win. That's the bet you're making. Can I tell you to make a different bet? Of course I cannot tell you. That would be financial advice. What I'm trying to say is maybe you're going to be right. But you need to assess the likelihood of your position. Is it possible that the entire crowd will be correct? Yes, it is possible. Maybe it will happen. You have to look. You have to factor that in. That's a possibility. And if you do, you're gonna end up being a genius. If not, well, then you may miss out. I still wish you the best of luck, and I wish you that you have all the best, of course. But now what I want to see, I want to keep seeing these liquidity and financial conditions improving as they are now. And I want to see the business cycle really kicking it up. And I would like to see, obviously, all the conflicts to stop. I hope that before the end of the year we can see some more of that. Fingers crossed. I don't know if it's going to be possible or not, but that would be my wishes. And with that, I wish you a very good evening. And here we are again at new all-time highs in the Nasdaq and NASDAQ100. The S&P seems to be coming. And I get the feeling that not in a so distant future, you're going to see the same in Bitcoin. And all the people predicting the end of the world back in April, where are they? Can't find them. Where are the crypto banter videos talking about how we were going to collapse? Where is it? Where are crypto banter videos promoting Pump Fund token? What happened? He now pretends, I never talked about Pump Fund. What is that Pump Fund? I have no idea. Of course. Now he's promoting crypto stocks. Coin. He's promoting crypto stocks that already pumped dramatically. Good idea. And he's already declared that there's not going to be any altcoin season. That the altcoin season, as we know it, is going to happen in crypto stocks, never in altcoins. This is what he said. I get the feeling that in about a month, he's telling you the top 10 altcoins to own for the biggest altcoin season you've ever seen. This is the level of garbage, of that person. But let's keep it for another day. Don't forget, guys, like and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one.